Can someone tell the maid to bring more champagne? My cousin laughed while saying it, and suddenly the entire table burst into laughter. Not awkward laughter, not nervous laughter, cruel laughter, the kind people use when they believe someone beneath them cannot fight back. I stood there holding a tray of glasses in a black uniform, smiling politely, while something inside me slowly went cold. Because the people laughing, they were my family. My name is Sophia Carter. I was 29 years old, and for almost 6 years, my family treated me like unpaid staff instead of family. The worst part, they genuinely believed I needed them. What they didn't know was that the luxury gala happening that night wasn't just another event. It belonged to me, completely. And 20 minutes later, one sentence from a billionaire would destroy every lie they spent years building. She's our boss. But before that happened, I needed to let them reveal exactly who they really were. Growing up in our family meant living inside rankings. Everything had rankings. Money, jobs, schools, cars, addresses, even people, especially people. My Uncle Victor believed life worked like a ladder. People on top mattered. People below served. Simple, cruel, predictable. And somehow, I always ended up at the bottom. Not because I failed, because I refused becoming like them. My cousins married wealthy, worked inside family businesses, attended elite events, posted fake perfect lives online. Meanwhile, I built companies quietly. No luxury photos, no social media, no public announcements. Because honestly, after years growing up around people obsessed with appearances, I became allergic to performance. 5 years earlier, I launched a logistics startup with 3 employees, tiny office, cheap desks, second-hand laptops. Nothing glamorous, but we grew, slowly, quietly. 3 employees became 20, 20 became 80. Then 80 became hundreds. And eventually, 2 international investment firms acquired majority partnership positions. Not publicly, quietly, because privacy mattered, especially after I learned something important. The louder people look successful, the less secure they usually are. Meanwhile, my family thought I still worked ordinary corporate jobs. I never corrected them, because honestly, watching people reveal themselves before money enters the conversation becomes fascinating. Then last month, my cousin Olivia invited me to a luxury charity gala. Huge event, major investors, celebrities, billionaires. And strangely, she sounded unusually friendly. Too friendly. At first, I thought maybe time changed things. Maybe people matured. Maybe family finally wanted real connection. I was wrong. Very wrong. The second I arrived, everything made sense. Olivia walked toward me, smiling dramatically. "Oh, thank God you're here." No hug. No hello. Just relief. Then she handed me a black uniform. I stared. "What is this?" She blinked. The event staff had cancellations. Silence. Pure silence. Because honestly, for several seconds, I genuinely thought she was joking. Then she smiled wider. "You always said hard work builds character." Laughter. Behind her, 3 cousins stood grinning. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't help. This wasn't coincidence. This was entertainment. They invited me because they thought humiliating me publicly sounded fun. Funny thing was, I almost left. Almost. Then I noticed something. The company logo projected across the ballroom stage. My company logo. Very large. very visible. And suddenly, I smiled, small smile, because fate occasionally writes comedy better than people do. You see, my company wasn't sponsoring tonight's gala. We own the parent investment group hosting it, but nobody knew publicly yet. The acquisition announcement wasn't scheduled until later that night. Meaning, for one beautiful hour, I got front row seats watching my family expose themselves completely. And honestly, I decided staying suddenly sounded interesting. So I took the uniform, took the tray, and smiled. Big mistake for them. Because 20 minutes later, my cousin raised a champagne glass and loudly announced, "Everyone meet Sophia." Long pause. Huge smile. Our family Maid. The table exploded laughing. And across the ballroom, a billionaire investor slowly turned around because he recognized me instantly. And suddenly his face changed completely. This wasn't coincidence. This was entertainment. They invited me because they thought humiliating me publicly sounded fun. Funny thing was, I almost left. Almost. Then I noticed something. The company logo projected across the ballroom stage. My company logo. Very large. Very visible. And suddenly, I smiled. Small smile. Because fate occasionally writes comedy better than people do. You see, my company wasn't sponsoring tonight's gala. We own the parent investment group hosting it. But nobody knew publicly yet. The acquisition announcement wasn't scheduled until later that night. Meaning, for one beautiful hour, I got front row seats watching my family expose themselves completely. And honestly, I decided staying suddenly sounded interesting. So, I took the uniform, took the tray, and smiled. Big mistake for them. Because 20 minutes later, my cousin raised a champagne glass and loudly announced, "Everyone meet Sophia." Long pause. Huge smile. Our family Maid. The table exploded laughing. And across the ballroom, a billionaire investor slowly turned around because he recognized me instantly. And suddenly his face changed completely. The laughter kept going. Loud enough people nearby started turning around. My cousin Olivia held her champagne glass while grinning proudly. "Our family Maid," she repeated. More laughter. Meanwhile, I stayed completely calm. Because honestly, people become most honest while believing they have power. And I wanted to see exactly how honest my family planned becoming. Then suddenly, the laughter started dying. Slowly, very slowly, because someone across the ballroom stopped moving. Tall man, gray suit, silver watch. And judging from the way executives instantly moved aside. Important, very important. He stared directly toward me. No confusion, no hesitation. Recognition, pure recognition. Then suddenly, he started walking toward us. The room changed instantly because everyone recognized him. Richard Ashford, billionaire investor, chairman of Ashford Capital, the same man whose investment group recently partnered with my company. Olivia immediately straightened her posture. My uncle fixed his jacket. My cousin suddenly looked nervous because suddenly important people entered their space. Richard stopped directly beside me, looked at the tray in my hands, looked at the uniform, looked at my family. Long silence. Then, "Sophia." I smiled. "Good evening, Richard." And instantly, my family's expressions changed. Because people working events normally don't casually greet billionaires by first name. Olivia laughed awkwardly. "Oh, my God, you know each other?" Richard looked confused, actually confused, then looked back toward me. Before I could answer, Olivia spoke again. She helps tonight. Helps. Funny, because suddenly the word Maid disappeared. Richard stared for several seconds, then slowly asked, helps with what? Nobody answered immediately, because suddenly everyone sensed something felt wrong. Very wrong. Then my cousin Tyler smiled, nervously. Just family jokes. Silence. Richard looked at me, and honestly, I almost told him right there. Almost. But part of me wanted 5 more minutes. Just 5. Because the show wasn't over yet. Then Richard looked toward the stage schedule and suddenly smiled. Richard leaned closer, quietly. You're early. I blinked. What? He smiled. The announcement. Silence. Because instantly, I saw panic appear across Olivia's face. Announcement? What announcement? Questions started appearing immediately. My uncle frowned. Tyler looked confused. Olivia stopped smiling completely. Richard glanced toward the ballroom stage. Board members arrived already, then looked directly at me. Everyone's waiting. Waiting. For me. I saw it happen instantly. That horrible moment when arrogant people suddenly realize reality shifted without warning. Olivia looked at me, then Richard, then me again. What exactly do you do? She whispered. I smiled slightly. Logistics. Technically true. Just missing several $1 billion of context. Then one executive hurried toward us. Miss Carter, he said, we need you backstage immediately. Silence exploded, because suddenly my family stopped seeing a maid and started seeing a mystery. Then my uncle saw my photo on the presentation screen backstage. People followed. Of course they followed. Curiosity always beats pride eventually. I walked backstage calmly, Richard beside me, executives surrounding us. Meanwhile, behind us, my family practically chased the group. Then we reached the presentation area, and suddenly everyone stopped moving because across a massive LED screen, my face appeared. Huge, impossible to miss. Underneath, Sophia Carter, founder and CEO. Absolute silence. No movement, no breathing, no words. My cousin Tyler actually laughed once. Tiny laugh. Like his brain rejected reality. No. Olivia looked pale instantly. No. My uncle stared without blinking, because suddenly every joke replayed inside their heads. Every insult, every smirk, every made comment. And honestly, watching it happen felt strangely peaceful. Because truth doesn't scream. Truth simply arrives. But the next thing Richard said destroyed them completely. The ballroom lights dimmed. Music faded. And Richard walked onto stage holding a microphone. I stood behind him quietly, still wearing the black uniform, still holding the tray. Then Richard smiled. Tonight, he began, Ashford Capital announces its newest leadership partnership. Applause. Then, most people recognize success after they see money. Long pause. But real leaders are recognizable before success arrives. Then he turned, looked directly at me, smiled, and said 7 words changing everything. She isn't staff. Long pause. She's our boss. Silence. Pure, devastating silence. Because suddenly, every person looked toward my family. And honestly, watching Olivia's face lose color felt unforgettable. Because suddenly, their little joke became public humiliation. Not because I exposed them, because they exposed themselves. But Olivia made one final desperate mistake after the speech ended. 20 minutes later, Olivia found me near the terrace, suddenly smiling, suddenly warm, suddenly emotional. Funny how quickly people rediscover family connections around power. Sophia, she whispered. We were joking. Joking, another fascinating word, because disrespect always becomes a joke after consequences appear. Then my uncle approached, then Tyler, then everyone. Apologies, excuses, explanations. We didn't mean it. We always believed in you. You misunderstood. Honestly, 5 years earlier, those words would have mattered. Not anymore. Because success teaches something important. People who love you during struggle deserve front row seats during success. People who humiliate you during struggle deserve distance. I looked toward Olivia quietly, then smiled. Small smile. You know what's funny? Silence. When you thought I was staff, I was still the same person. Nobody spoke. Because suddenly, they understood. Money didn't change me. Status didn't change me. Only their behavior changed. And honestly, that was the saddest part. Tonight wasn't about revenge. It was revelation. Because for years, I wondered whether success would finally earn respect from my family. Then I realized something. Real respect never arrives after money. Real respect arrives before it. Everything else is negotiation. Never let people convince you your value depends on your job title, clothes, or current season of life. Because the same people laughing at your struggle today might stand applauding you tomorrow. And if their respect only appears after success, it was never respect to begin with. Stay with silent revenge stories, because sometimes the quietest people in the room own the entire stage.